member of the football team during my time there. And currently I work, I'm an engineer at Whirlpool Corporation in Marion, Ohio.
Awesome. Jillian?
Hi, everyone. My name is Jillian Causey. I'm a 2013 graduate of Ohio University, and my degree is in health administration. During my time at Ohio, I was an RA for 3 years, as well as I was president of the Black Student Union.
Awesome. Thank you. Jeff?
Hi, everyone. My name is Jeff. I graduated from OU in 2006, studying communications and journalism. Since then, I've worked in the fields of both public policy for nonprofits and also in the manufacturing setting, currently serving in a communications role for Honda R&D Americas.
Awesome. Thank you. And Damon?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Damon Scott. I am definitely the old head here in this group. I graduated from Ohio University in 1989 with a Bachelor of Science degree in communication. I was specifically in the School of Interpersonal Communication with a minor in criminology.
Awesome. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. And I realized I forgot to share my graduation years, 2010, and then again, just this last spring in 2020. So we'll go ahead and get started. I've got some fun questions prepared for y'all, and we'll have some questions coming in from the viewers as well. So let's start with an easy one. What was or is your favorite place on campus?
I'll go first.
Sure.
Favorite place was the rec center. My OU friends got me into lifting weights, and we played a ton of basketball there. So Ping Rec Center was probably my number one spot.
Awesome.
I'll go. My favorite spot on campus is College Green. I think when you think of a quintessential college, or what I always dreamed of college being, I found right there on College Green. I get chills just talking about it. The trees, the sidewalks, the brick sidewalks, the old buildings. I mean, it is a awesome place to grab lunch and go sit in the grass, or go sit up by Cutler Hall on the brick wall up there, and I like watching people walk by. And I think it's amazing. There's a lot of students there, but you recognize so many people. So even though, you might be sitting there, you'll recognize a handful of people as they walk past, whether they were in your freshman English class, or, you go to the rec center and you see them working out in the evenings and so forth. It becomes a community, and you really get to know a lot of the people that make Ohio University what it is.
I probably have to say my favorite was Baker. It was always a go-to place. In between classes, we'd hang out, get food, that was just the hangout. So it was nice, especially if you didn't want to go back to your dorm. It was a nice place to go.
I think mine would probably be what the last two guests just said combined, both College Green as well as Baker Center. As you described, College Green is just a beautiful place with all the trees, the green grass, the brick walkways, surrounded by all the historic buildings. And of course, that would be, basically a beautiful place any season. Certainly when you first get on campus in the fall, it's beautiful as the trees start to turn colors. Then, you enter winter quarter. And I'm dating myself. I said quarter because when I was a student at OU, we were on quarters, not semesters. Winter quarter, very good. Winter quarter, the snow is beautiful on the green. And of course, in the spring, you get the flowers blooming. And then also, as Jillian mentioned, Baker Center. But of course, my Baker Center is different from, I think, all of you all's Baker Center. My Baker Center is now the Schoonover School for Communications. But when I was a student there, that was our student union. And the front steps of Baker Center was an iconic place. It was a place where students met, usually during the middle of the day. Really anytime there was a wall there and people sat on the wall, and it was a great place to, as someone mentioned, to sit and watch people and see your friends come by.
Yeah, awesome. I would say College Green is my favorite, but that's been taken already, so I'll switch it up. And I'll say Bird Arena is probably one of my favorite places in Athens and Ohio University. Grew up playing hockey, so I've probably spent more time there than any other place in Athens at this point. So always a fun spot. Thanks for sharing, everybody. Let's jump to a different one here. What was your favorite class at Ohio University?
I'll take it first. Mine was journalism 210, I think it was, which was news writing. So everybody has that one teacher you'll find, whether it was in your kindergarten years, high school years, or maybe in your college years, you'll always have that one teacher who made a huge impact on your life and really changed your life. And mine was at Ohio University. And it was my sophomore year when I met a professor who taught me how to write well. It was always my dream to be a writer. It's what I'm doing right now. And this professor at OU, with whom I'm still very close, we stay in touch to this day, he taught me the value and the art of good writing. And as a movie fan, he even used a Jurassic Park reference, which was a big movie when I was growing up. So to do that with the instructions of how to write basically won me over. So that was my class and my favorite teacher.
Yeah, I have a similar story as Jeff. I had a communication studies minor, and I can't remember the class, sorry, but it was very similar. I had a great professor, and she really taught me how to not only write well, but also to defend my position well verbally. And so it was a lot of public speaking, which terrified me at the time, but it was just a great mix, a great professor, and it was one of the larger classes, so it was a really great experience. But it was in the communication studies field for sure.
I'll go next. My favorite class, probably while I was there, is it was one of my electives, and I chose to do an intro to acting class. And never thought, I didn't know what to expect or anything like that. But we would do monologues and skits and improv, and it was awesome because you really got to become very close with the people in that class. There was probably about 15 or 20 of us in there. And, we would pair up and take like famous movie quotes or snippets from different things. And we would go back and forth doing monologues or, the improv. I remember, basically rolling on the floor in laughter from, some of the stuff that would come up. And I think that was an awesome experience because being in engineering, I can't say that I necessarily have used acting since, but I'm so glad I had that opportunity to at least get a taste of that. And then, and really what it comes down to is it teaches you people skills. And as a manager, I work with my team daily, and it's all about how you, communicate and talk to different individuals and really, in my role, become a motivator for people and help them excel in their areas of work.
I'm thinking back now, trying to remember what the names of my classes were, and you all are really making me feel old in this call, but it's okay. So there are two classes that stick out in my mind, but I can't really remember the actual name of either class. One of them was like a Black film studies class. And it was held in Morton in one of the huge lecture halls. And it was probably 100 people in the class, and, you knew just about almost everybody in the class, or you knew a large number of people in the class. And we studied famous films, famous African-American films by African-American directors that had, African-American actors in it. I do remember my professor's name. I'm pretty sure his name was Austin Allen. But I can't remember the actual name of the class. But it was, sometimes it was just a nice break to take a class, to learn something fun, as opposed to, something that was specifically about your major or something that was, so serious. And it taught us a lot about film. And then my second class, I was a criminology minor, and I took a class that that taught us about courtroom oratory and famous cases in the United States, famous court cases. And two of the cases that I can remember studying one was about the Sam Shepard case. Sam Shepard being a doctor in Cleveland way back in the mid 20th century. And I'm from Cleveland, so that case always interested me because it was something that was certainly in the headlines, and you would hear about it on certain anniversaries in the local Cleveland area. And then there was another case about Charles Lindbergh and the kidnapping of his child. So those were some, famous cases, certainly in the 20th century. And it was so interesting to learn about them in the class. And I can't remember my professor's name, but he had a great personality. He really got into the classes and really got into the class, into the cases. And he made the material very interesting to learn about.
And Tyler, I'll add one more thing. Hearing other people talk, I also found that some of my hardest classes, reflecting back, were some of the ones that I enjoyed the most. And I think that comes from the sense of accomplishment after a semester of really challenging classes. Then, I think some of those hardest classes were probably my best professors that I had, because they were able to teach the material in a way that you could learn it, even though the concepts were tough. I think back to some of the chemistry or physics classes. I did a business minor, some of the accounting classes. But when you put the work in and you feel like you really achieved, some good things at the end of a semester, when you get that final grade and it's like, wow, I put the work in. And, there might have been some that failed, but I excelled because, I came prepared to class. You do the homework, you study with friends and so forth. And then, so I think, some of those more challenging classes on campus actually became some of my most enjoyable as well.
Yeah, and Jordan, if I can build off of that, kind of to your point about the acting class that you took, one thing that's so neat about Athens and OU is you have experts across all these different fields who, can teach you the ins and outs of business, acting, art, you name it, film. And, when you're there, try to seek those opportunities out to learn more about kind of different subjects, different topics, because you have right at your disposal all these different professors with whom you can talk and learn and ask questions, and it's really an awesome, diverse experience that's really right at your fingertips.
Mm-hmm. Great point.
Yeah, awesome. One of the things I love the most about the university is just the wide variety of classes that students can choose from, and there are so many different courses you can take to fulfill degree requirements. So no single student's schedule is going to look the same every semester. The same degree does not mean the same classes, and that's always, it really makes it so students can kind of tailor it to their passions, and I really enjoy that about the university. Kind of switching gears here, but similar, I think it's going to be a very similar veined question. But what does it mean to you to be a Bobcat?
I'll start. Wow. Sometimes when I think about my experience at Ohio University, and certainly since my time there as an alum, I think, I get a sort of a warm and fuzzy feeling inside. And when I talked to some of my fellow alums who were, who were students when we were in school together, and even alums that I've met over the years since my time there, the vast majority of people sort of have the same kind of feeling that I do. And when I think about it, though, I think, well, we feel this way because we went to Ohio University. But I would imagine, people who went to every other school in the country, may feel the same way. And then not too long ago, I had a conversation with an alum who I believe he did his graduate work at Ohio University, and he had done his undergraduate work at another school in Ohio, I think another MAC school. And I said that to him that, I'm sure you feel the same way about, where you did your undergraduate studies. And he said, well, you know what, actually, having had the experience in two different schools, he said, I think there's something different about Ohio University. He said, maybe other people do feel the same way that you feel about Ohio University at other schools. He said, but there's just something different. And he explained to me, at least his own personal experience, that he just didn't see the same enthusiasm, I guess, from his fellow alums from his undergraduate school. And now that's just one person. But I have talked to some other people who I know who went to other schools, and just based on what they tell me, my impression is that they just didn't have the same experience that I did at Ohio University, and maybe they don't have that same love for their alma mater as I do. And I'm sure there are plenty of people who do. We all know there are enthusiastic alums from, probably every school in the land, but I don't know. There's just something for me about Ohio University and about Athens specifically. Being from Cleveland, being from the northeastern part of the state, a large urban metropolitan area, it was a whole different world for me to go to southeastern Ohio, where there's no southeastern Ohio, as we all know, is the only region of the state that doesn't have a major metropolitan area in it. So when you get to Athens, when I think back on my time there, we were sort of stuck in Athens. You couldn't, like if you go to a school in a larger metropolitan area and you're tired of being on campus, maybe you go somewhere in that city to do some things to get away from being in school. But it's not quite like that in Athens. You can, of course, you can go uptown and go off campus to get away from campus, but it's still, you're still there in Athens. Athens and OU are so intertwined with each other. You can't really experience one without the other. So to me, that's sort of what a Bobcat for me is all about, is the love that I have for the university, for my experience, my time there, my 4 years there, but then also how much I look forward to going back to Ohio University and to Athens, even 30-something years later.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing.
I'd say I would echo Damon's point. I think when I think about being a Bobcat, I think about community. I think for me, I found such a great group of folks, and we're still close to this day. I mean, I've graduated now, I think 7 years ago, and it's been nice to still have that community and that camaraderie. And it's the same thing when I go back. It's like nothing, campus looks so different. There's new buildings and new students. I know no one that goes there now, but it's just nice to be able to have that community on campus. And then I think even now when we get together with other Bobcats who, I may see them at events and they graduated 20 or 30 years before me, we still all have that same love for Ohio University. So I do think that the community is just something that it is. It's so unique, and that's always the first thing that comes to mind. When I think about Ohio University, and even being out of the state, I live in the DC area. I mean, I'll find Bobcats there too, and it's just like we're back in Athens when we get together and we talk. So that's what I think.
My freshman year, there was a whiteboard in my roommate in my dorm room, and I wrote on it, very first thing we moved in, I wrote on it, work hard, play hard. Now what I mean by that is work hard. You're there for academics. You're there to study, and OU has some of the best academics around, some of the best colleges around. You look at the business school, you look at arts and sciences, you look at communications, you look at their sports management program. So many amazing academics at OU. Because of what Jillian and Damon described in terms of the community and the environment that is Athens, you also have this incredible opportunity to meet people from all walks of life. That whiteboard that I wrote that message on, it was my roommate's whiteboard from freshman year. That was 2002. He was just in my apartment today, 18 years later, working from home. We're brothers to this day. I mentioned the Payne Rec Center at the beginning, the friend who got me to lift weights. I just saw him last weekend. We're friends to this day. The play hard of what I mean by Athens is that you have this environment there that, like Damon said, it almost forces you to meet people and to find these groups that you all have stuff in common, and you go out and you have fun together. You have all sorts of things to participate in Athens, from nature to uptown to the library to sports. It's just incredible. And you really do create this bond that is just, it's unbreakable. I won't name the college, but my sister and my mom went to a different college. My dad went to OU, and they are honorary Bobcats. They even see at OU a bond that they did not see at their alma mater. And as a result, they like to call themselves honorary Bobcats. And so I think, for me, what it means to be a Bobcat is to, have access to those great academics, and then, to do something with that once you graduate, to do something in life with what you've learned at Athens, but to also carry those bonds with you as that Bobcat family, for the rest of your days.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to build off of Julian, and Julian said it's a community. I think it's a Bobcat family, and Jeff kind of touched on it there at the end. No matter what, I mean, the bonds that you form with people in that town, I mean, I still talk. I mean, I created great friendships with not only, people my age, but community members that had a vested interest in the university. And I think that's what makes it so wonderful there is you have this intertwined network of university, town, just regular town people, and it's all mixed together. And, I talk nearly daily with a person that was a Bobcat and now lives in Athens full time. And I created a wonderful friendship with him and his wife. And then, I have, I don't know, the amount of people that I connected with and continue to stay connected with to this day is phenomenal. And I think there's not a better time to see that connection than on homecoming. And I mean, that's where that family truly, I mean, you get a glimpse of what that family is like on homecoming. And I mean, when we're walking down the street, I mean, there could have been a person that graduated 40 years before me, but we still have that connection, and that's Ohio University in Athens, Ohio. And it is, I mean, that connection is unbreakable. And I think there's no better feeling than traveling through an airport, wherever you are in the world, and people will come up to you and say, "You're a Bobcat? I'm a Bobcat too." And, and immediately you have so much in common just from that Bobcat connection.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree. I want to just add one other thing to what I think what Jillian said about going back to campus, and some of it looks so different now than what it did when you were there. And you said, Jillian, you graduated like 6 years ago. Well, you can imagine what that's like. For me, it's been like 5 times that much. So there are definitely a lot of things on campus that are more up to date and modern now, which is great. But at the same time, there's so many parts of campus to me that look exactly the same. And so I sort of feel like when I go back, it's almost like having the best of both worlds. When I've gone back for reunions, some of my classmates and I, we look at maybe even like some of the new residence halls and the dining halls on campus, especially the dining halls. And I even went in one last year, and we were just amazed at how modern it is. And we thought, man, we didn't have anything like this when we were students here. We wish we had this. So, there are certain things that are, very modern and up to date, which is great. But I'm so happy that at least I personally feel like there are a lot of things that still look the same, which is great because it still has that, the historical perspective for me. It has the look of a historical college town. And again, I feel like I get the best of both worlds when I go back, the new and the classic.
Yeah. So many people, describe the relationships and the attachment to the university, the Bobcat family. I mean, it really does feel like a familial connection to the people you met and the people you shared those experiences with. To me personally, one of the biggest parts that contributes to that are some of the student organizations that I got involved in. I was in Greek life and I was in health promotion, and there were a couple different aspects within those areas that I really got involved with, and that has made all the difference in my life. So I guess leading into the next question, question. Were you members of any student organizations when you were on campus, and what were they?
So mine won't be that interesting because I'm going to say, unfortunately, I was not. But I will tell you right now, please get involved because I wish I would have. That is probably my biggest regret looking back on my time at OU. I didn't get involved. And to this day, I wish I would have because I hear other people's stories and how awesome they are. And I regret not getting involved in that capacity. I had my group of friends. We played sports, we had a good college experience, but I didn't get involved in things like the Post, the student newspaper, or Student Senate, or other, Greek Life, or other organizations across campus that are doing such tremendous good. Just a few months ago, I was on campus for a fundraiser that a group of students were doing for the Ronald McDonald House to raise money for low-income families in need. These are incredible students who are doing this for families, and those are the types of things that are available and the things that I wish I would have done when I was there.
Yeah, I was really involved as a student. I was, like I said, I was an RA for 3 years, which I know is not a student org, but sometimes it felt like it. We were like our own little family. But then I also was a part of the Black Student Programming Board, so that was about creating programming for students of color. And then I was also a part of the Black Student Union, and so I actually started that as a freshman. I was super shy as a freshman, and I forced myself to join, and literally that's where I made almost all of my friends, and we still hang out to this day. And so I had various positions within that organization until, when I was a senior, I became president. But it was really great to, like I said, have that community and have that family. But then also, we were really right in the thick of, which is so pertinent even now with the Black Lives Matter movement and social justice, and we were really able to be kind of at the cutting edge. We were having marches on campus and stuff like that, so it was nice to have that family, but we were also really about social justice and social change, which was important for all of us that were in that organization. So it was great. I echo Jeff. I would totally say get involved. We have so many organizations on campus. I mean, anything that you want. I think the last one I saw, we have someone flies kites or something like that. There's just whatever you want, you can find something on campus.
Yeah, I regularly tell students, we've got over 550, I think, last time I checked, student organizations, and there's more being created every day. It doesn't take that much effort to create a student organization, a handful of students and a faculty advisor, and you can create your own. Damon or Jordan, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I would encourage, when you go to the student involvement fair, there are so many activities that, it's crazy to hear 550 some organizations or things to be a part of.
There's not enough room on College Green for all of them.
Yeah, and I tell you, it's so easy to kind of get, kind of go where you're comfortable. And I would encourage everyone to kind of step out of that shell. When you come to college, there's no preconceived notions of what you did in high school or who you were or what activities you were involved in high school. You have the opportunity to really kind of just hit the reset button and be whoever you want to be and explore different groups, different people, people from all over the world you'll get to interact with and mingle with on a daily basis. And that's my biggest thing, is just step outside your comfort zone and be a part of something different. And you'll definitely have that opportunity. And I think back, some of the groups that I was a part of, one of the most rewarding experiences, I think, was I was able to find myself on the General Fee Committee. And I'm going to say that year we helped distribute $420 million to different student organization and groups across campus. And being a part of that, President McDavis, who was the president prior to Dr. Nellis now, I got to know him. I got to know him and his wife, Deborah, extremely well and form connections with them and really feel like we made a difference because it was cool because I got to experience a lot of student groups that I didn't even realize they were there. But then also got to get a taste of what those groups were like and kind of found myself in a lot of different avenues, meeting people that I never dreamed I would meet. and still being able to remain in contact with a lot of those folks today it's awesome. So step outside your comfort zone and do something that you never thought you would do, because you won't regret the experience.
Absolutely.
I can definitely relate to some of what Jordan just said about, especially when you're coming out of high school. When I think back to my, graduating from high school and getting accepted to OU and going to OU, I just probably, if anybody who knew me coming out of high school going into undergraduate school, they never would have thought that I would have ended my college career the way that I did. Because when I was coming in, I was just sort of a typical unfocused freshman, for lack of a better way to describe it. I was just happy to get out of high school and happy to be in college. And, I never thought I would have gotten as involved as I did while I was a student there. So I eventually became very involved, as Jillian said as well. I became involved with the Black Student Union. And my junior year, I was the vice president, and then my senior year, I became the president of the Black Student Union. So, Jillian, I'm glad to see we've got another BSU president in our call today. So that certainly was an organization that taught me a lot about, about organizing, about how to, put a platform together of issues that you want to have addressed in your community. And it taught me so much, and it was such a great experience for me. I also, somehow I ended up getting involved with the Judicial Review Board. I think it was called University Judiciaries when I was first there. And that was it was a student-run review board that would hear cases for students if students got into some type of trouble with the university. Basically, they were supposed to have a group of their peers to be able to hear their case and at least make a recommendation on what should become what the outcome should be. And that was one of the things that gave me the idea of going to law school. So I'm very thankful for that experience. And then I think probably my most valued experience in terms of outside of the classroom at Ohio University was being one of the first two students appointed to the Board of Trustees. So it was my senior year that I think the Ohio legislature passed legislation that said all state schools in Ohio had to appoint two non-voting students to the Board of Trustees. As I was the president of Black Student Union, I was one of the students who was considered to be appointed to the board, and I was one of those first two students. So that was an excellent experience for me, especially at the tail end of my undergraduate experience. To be able to actually be a part of the first two students and to be a part of the Board of Trustees, it gave me a whole new perspective and appreciation for Ohio University, not only from a student perspective, but that of a trustee. And really, I got a chance to see a little bit of how the administration worked and some of the challenges that the administration had in trying to, educate students at Ohio University. So all in all, I had an excellent experience at OU. And not only as a student in the classroom, but certainly as an activist, in looking at my entire career and my entire experience at Ohio University.
Awesome. Thank you all for sharing. I've got a couple of questions that are for specific panelists, so I'm going to jump to those really quick. Jillian, this one is for you. As the most recent alumni on the panel, no offense to the other three panelists, can you talk about what your college selection process was like and how you ended up deciding on Ohio University?
That is a funny question. So I actually did not want to go to Ohio University. I had already made up my mind. I was going to go out of state. I was done with Ohio. And, just with the guidance from college counselors and my parents, they just said, hey, make sure that you apply to in-state schools. And so Ohio University was one of the schools, obviously. And so I was accepted, and probably about a month before I had to make my decision, even though I had already made it in my mind, I had gotten an invitation to come to a multicultural weekend at Ohio University. And I was like, I'm not going to that. I've already made up my mind. And of course, parents being parents, they forced me to come. And I came and I like fell in love with university. It was literally everything that I had ever wanted in a college. And I think that's very important that you are able to see yourself at a university. I had wanted to go to a much larger university than Ohio University. And even when I went to visit, I felt kind of just like a number. Whereas when I came to visit Athens, I felt like, oh, I could see myself going here, or I could see myself in classes. I could see myself making friends. And so that was kind of my process. I just felt comfortable. Not enough that I wasn't going to grow, but you also don't want to go away from home and feel like lost either. So that was really my decision making process. After I came and visited, I had to swallow my pride and admit that I did not know what I wanted to do. And after I again had more conversations with my parents and people that I trusted, I was able to make the right decision. And I always tell people, I really think that it was really like divine intervention. I grew so much at Ohio University. I mean, it literally propelled me in so many ways to graduate school and my career. And I just don't think I would have had that experience if I would have went anywhere else.
Awesome. Thank you. Does anybody else have a story they'd like to share? All right, no worries. I'll move on to the next question. This one is for Jordan. As a former Ohio University football player, can you talk about the experience playing at Peden Stadium and the game day atmosphere in Athens?
Yeah, so I guess to Jillian's point, I found my way to Ohio University. I grew up in Northwest Ohio, and Ohio University wasn't even on my radar. And I, too, had already picked the school that I was planning to attend. And Ohio University kind of piqued my interest, I guess, and I decided to take a visit. And my mom, of all people, was totally against me going there. She said, "You've already picked the school. We're just wasting another weekend. Why are we going to Athens?" I said, "Well, I just want to go to Athens to make sure it's not the place I want to go," basically to solidify my other decision. And we spent the weekend in Athens. And when we left town on Sunday afternoon, my mom looked at me and she said, "Now I know why you wanted to come to Ohio University to check it out." And I was sold. She was sold. I mean, my parents were sold. It's got that, I don't know what it is, but it's got the it factor. And it was perfect for me. Playing in Peden Stadium is amazing. I think back to some of the games that we had in Peden Stadium, and that place is rocking. And it's so exciting when we have, Coach Solich has done a phenomenal job.
Absolutely.
And when the group of guys that I came through was kind of the leading front of getting the program turned around to what it is today. And it's so exciting. And I think back to a stretch of games. So in 2012, we went into Penn State and beat Penn State at their place. And there's not a better feeling in the world to send 110,000 people home disappointed. And, we came back the next week and we won like 56-10. And we put on a show that Saturday night, the next week in Peden. And people couldn't get in. They locked the gates because it was a sellout crowd. And all week on campus, all you heard, the buzz was, I got to Peden 2 hours early and I couldn't get in. I'm going to get there 4 hours early this week just to make sure I got a seat. And I mean, running out in front of a crowd that cheers like they do, it is an awesome experience. And it's fun. I'm glad that I could be a representative of our school. And I was very, very proud to wear Ohio across my chest.
Awesome.
That's great. Tyler, can I add something to what Jordan just said?
Absolutely.
Jordan, thank you for sharing that experience. And it just, I was just smiling. I couldn't help but grin from ear to ear hearing you talk about your experience, playing football at Ohio University, because it made me think back to my experience. Now, I did not play football by any means, but it just made me think back to my experience and what athletics was like when I was there. So certainly in the late 80s, the football team was terrible. I don't know if any of you all have heard stories about it, but I mean, we would win like one game a year. And I remember, the experience was nothing like what you described, but I'm thankful that I actually got a chance to experience some of what you described going back for homecoming. I got a chance to sit on the Ohio University Alumni Association Board of Directors. And so I was on the board for 4 years, and this would have been like maybe 2006 to about 2010. So that was right when, when football was starting to turn around, when Coach Solich, I think was first coming to the program. And so our board meetings, we had 3 board meetings a year, and the fall board meeting was always on campus during homecoming. And I remember that first year coming back to homecoming and going to the game. It was a great experience. We got to sit in the president's press box with Dr. McDavis. And I just remember my first time going there, and I thought, oh my God, is this OU? Is this Athens? This is nothing like when I was in school. I mean, we had a really good football team, a good program. As you said, the stands were full. Peden Stadium was sold out. Prior to, back during my time, again, you could, probably count the students that actually were at the game. And it was a completely different experience. And it was so great just to have that experience as an alum going to a football game, especially going for homecoming, and just seeing, the enthusiasm, the excitement of the entire community, of OU, of Athens on game day. It was a great experience. And I'm so thankful that you had the experience that you did, which was so different from the experience that we had back in the late 80s. And I'm glad that it's continuing the way that it is when you were there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll throw out, just for anyone that's watching right now, all students have access at no extra cost to every home varsity athletic event. So if you want to go to a football game, all you have to do is swipe your ID as you walk into Peden Stadium, and you are there. And that goes for all of our varsity sports. So it's a really great way to be able to go out and enjoy some time, watch a great game. And there's usually a pretty fun tailgate with some free food beforehand as well. So you can go get some free food that's not from a dining hall right before you go there. So I think we have time for one more question, and I this is the one I've been the most excited to ask. If you could offer your 17, 18-year-old freshman self a piece of advice, what would it be?
I'll go. I would say do what makes you happy. So listen to your heart and do what makes you happy. And if you do that, you're going to have a ton of opportunities at OU. At the same time, if you do that and it doesn't take you to OU, it takes you someplace else, that's fine too. But I can guarantee you that if you do choose Athens, it's going to change your life for the better. But ultimately, I would just recommend you listen to this, not the paw.
The paw, yes.
But you listen to your heart, and you do what will make you happy.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say trust your instincts. Like I shared my college experience, I think that was because I knew what I should do and I was wrestling. I think now being almost 30, I've realized that you almost always know what it is that you should do and that you want to do, but you don't do it for X, Y, and Z. And you should take, your parents' advice, and you should listen to people that, have your best interest at heart, but trust your gut because it won't steer you wrong.
Damon, Jordan?
Go ahead, Jordan.
All right. Yeah, so my 18-year-old self, when I step foot on campus, I think take advantage of every opportunity. I think looking back, you never know how things are going to play out, but as you go through school, you're going to face obstacles and challenging times and so forth. You're entering a really influential stage of your life. just soak it all in, be a sponge, and I don't know. I just think you know, if you have that mentality of, hey, I'm here to experience, you know, different things, different cultures, different religions, different people, everything like that. If you have that open mindset coming in, you will find yourself leaving at graduation with an amazing experience. And I think, you know, all of the memories that I made on that campus, the one I remember the most vividly was standing in the Convocation Center on graduation day amongst all of my peers and thinking back, wow, these 4 years were amazing. And I am so glad I came to school here, and I am so thankful for the opportunities and the people that poured into my life. And you just feel equipped to go to conquer the world. At least I did. Leaving on graduation day, I felt like I could do anything I wanted to do. And I'm indebted forever to Ohio University for giving me that encouragement and that strength and that confidence to go out and do whatever it was I put my mind to.
Good advice. I think I would echo what Jeff said and what he started out saying, and that's follow your heart. Do what you think is right for you. I also think about my freshman year, my experience at OU, and it made me think back to just the whole process that I went through of changing my major. So one thing I would say to my 18-year-old self is it's okay if you don't know exactly what you want to do when you graduate from high school. Hopefully you will be going to college. But, you know, and I know sometimes that's a big decision to make. So once you've made that decision, you know, you may not know exactly where you want to go. Of course, as you can tell by everyone on this call, we think Ohio University is a great place and it's the best place for you to go. But I think, as Jeff said also, even if you don't end up going to Athens, it's okay. But if you decide to go to college, and you don't know exactly what you want to do, that's okay. If you don't know what you want to major in, it's all right. Maybe you do, and it's okay to state what you want to do and what you want to major in. And there are some students certainly who know from day one what they want to major in, and they go through all 4 years or 4+ years in that major, and they graduate and they go off and start a career in that field. And that's fine too. But if you don't know what you want to do, it's okay. It's okay to explore, take different classes, you know, in different colleges. And different tracks, different career tracks, and explore to see what it is that that you have a passion about, that you really feel is a good fit for you. It may be exactly what you were thinking when you went in as a freshman, or it may be something completely different. But it's okay. Be open to it. Explore. You know, this is a time in your life that's probably going to be among the best years in your life when you look back on your time as an undergraduate student. Explore, meet people, you know, make friends from, you know, not just from your hometown, from other parts of Ohio, other parts of the country, you know, other parts of the world, because there's students from all over the world at Ohio University. So make friends in different cultures, learn something new that you don't know about yourself, an experience that maybe you didn't have growing up. And you can have some of those experiences by meeting friends from different places and different backgrounds, different walks of life. So this is a great time in your life. Hopefully you will go to college, you will go to Ohio University, but even if you don't, having that time in your late teens and as you go into your early to mid 20s is a great time in your life. Take advantage of it and, you know, learn as much as you can while you're in undergraduate school. So that you can become a fully developed person who will one day participate in one of these calls to talk to other folks, talk to other teenagers about how great it is to be, whether it's at Ohio University or wherever you end up going.
Awesome. Thank you. Yep. Fantastic advice from everyone there. I'll add my own piece of advice in there as well. Maybe a little bit more specific to freshman Tyler, if you're out there listening. This is not the time to experiment with new laundry detergent. Stick with Tide. The other stuff will make you break out in hives. Figure out what's better for you later. Stick with Tide. you'll be happy. And then we did have just one more question come in from Bonnie on Facebook, and she asked, as alumni, do you stay in touch with anybody in your old department, maybe the chairs or professors, to kind of keep them up to date on what the field is looking like today in the modern world, or just to kind of continue to build those relationships?
Yeah, I'll answer that. I'm still very connected within the engineering department. I spent a lot of time in the building on campus, in the engineering building, and with those professors, and they helped mold me into who I am today. And every time I'm back on campus, I give our department chair or some of the professors that I had in class that are still there, let them know when I'll be back. And I've came back and talked to different classes, and it's easy to stay connected because you become friends. You become lifelong friends with those folks, and your professors have a huge impact on you. And I think, that's, for me, that's just a little piece that I can do to help the next generation of Bobcats. And I think you'll find that all over campus, because I'm not the only alumni that comes back and spends time with current students. And, that's a reoccurring theme across all departments and all degree fields. A little bit on what Damon said there. I came in as an undecided arts and science major and kind of navigated my way through the business school, picked up a business minor, and finished with my engineering degree. So, it's okay to not have the game plan in place on day one. You'll figure it out, and you'll be glad when you stand at graduation. There's not a better feeling in the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah, to this day, I still stay in touch with professors from the College of Communication. And, part of that is the sharing of best practices. Part is just staying in touch because we've become friends. But also a really important thing for, the students listening is, per kind of the opportunities available at Athens and like the organizations that Jillian touched on earlier, is you also have a lot of access to future opportunities as well through that, through the value of and power of networking, but also through internships. And so I know at some of my previous employers, we've hired Bobcats, especially I work in communications. OU has one of the best communication schools in the country. And so, for internships, we look for students who are in that field. And so that's another great part about not only kind of the network that you'll build in Athens because of the reasons that we discussed, but also getting involved in those community organizations, and also just, again, having really great academics. You're going to have really good access to future opportunities for the jobs that you want to try to get in the future.
Yeah, I would say that our deans of our colleges are really great, and they make a point, and they're very intentional about keeping in contact with alumni. So, I know for the College of Health Sciences and Professions, I think that's the name now, I get like a monthly, newsletter, and they're always keeping us up to date about what's going on. And so, they make it very, very easy for alumni to stay connected and to stay in touch and have those opportunities to give back, as everyone said.
Yeah, that's a great question. And actually, it's a question that's making me feel like, oh, man, I need to reach out to the College of Communications more often. And I think, again, that might be my current status might be, I guess, indicative of the length of time it has been since I've been out of school. When I first came out, like probably the first decade plus, I definitely kept in touch more with the College of Communication, and specifically with the School of Interpersonal Communication, which I think is now the School of Communication Studies. So Jeff, you've done a better job of keeping in touch, and you're making me realize that I need to reconnect. But yeah, I definitely kept in touch, say the first 10 or 15 years after I came out of school, because a lot of my professors were still there. They were still teaching. I'm still very much connected to the university in various ways, but that's one thing that I thank the student for asking this question. That's something that I realize that I need to do. I need to reestablish that connection with my college, with the College of Communication. Probably a few years ago, this would have been right in between Dr. McDavis's term and Dr. Nellis's term as president, there was an interim period, and there was an interim president. And I knew that was the case. And then one day I opened up the mail, and I got a birthday card from Ohio University, which I'm sure probably all of you have. You know, that's something that they send probably to every alum. But inside, you know, it was signed by the interim president at that time, and that was Dr. David DeScutner, who was, you know, one of my professors and one of my advisors. And he just wrote me a nice little personal note, say, "Hey, Damon, how you doing? Be great to catch up." And that reminded me, hey, I need to reach out to Dr. DeScutner. But it was so cool, you know, just to have that personal connection, not only to a professor who was also my advisor, but who actually at one point was the interim president of the university. And I felt like that was something that is very indicative of the College of Communications. The professors, the deans, they kept in touch with students, you know, and they made that personal connection. So thank you for that question, and it's reminding me I need to reconnect with the College of Communication.
I'm sure they'd love to hear from you.
Thanks, Tyler.
Well, on that note, I just want to take one more second here to thank you, Damon, Jeff, Jillian, and Jordan, for taking some time out of your evening and sharing it with me and the viewers here. We really appreciate it. And I'll end it with Go Bobcats.
Go
Bobcats. Go Green.
OU, oh yeah.
OU, oh yeah.